why do you always give the person a watch for retirement? And everybody just kind of looks at me and I go, because they have so much time on their hands.
I thought you were going to say because they're running out of time.
No, they've got time on their hands.
Yeah. That
works. I think I've heard the punchline before, but not in that context. You got so much time on your hands, and I've never heard it for the retirement.
But you do. You give people watches for retirement.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
a thing.
why.
No, it's a thing.
I know it is.
Yeah.
That's why the joke works.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a good joke. I'm just saying that it's actually like a stupid joke that you would read in Reader's Digest.
Yeah.
It's that kind of joke.
What happened to Reader's Digest?
Well, there's a whole thing trending.
Where's Reader's Digest?
And it's I think it's AI generated, but it's where
I love AI.
It's the assisted living home. We got all these elderly people. They're all in the common space, but they're having a party, and it's like a Halloween party, and they're all dressed up as something. But it's just a guy that has coins taped to his shirt. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you? Oh, I'm a treasure chest. You know what I mean?
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
There's a bunch.
There's a bunch of these.
Yeah, I think it is
and
AI.
they're actually kind of funny.
They're funny.
So,
yeah, they're like puns.
The joke sits in their
costume.
His joke kind of fits into that.
Yes.
In a way that's like, okay, it could be corny, but it is kind of a thing. So relevant to the kind of humor that's out there right now.
It's like the assisted livings is what it is. Like people that are in an elderly community.
And they're just having a party in the common space of their lobby.
It was like a Halloween party. They're all dressed up with different. Yeah,
but they're different, and some of them are funny. And oh, hey Beverly, what are you wearing? And
her outfit.
But one of them had watches, and it was a watch. It was around their waist, and what are you? I'm a waste of time. You know what I mean? And
this reminds me in second grade, we were doing this thing with our elementary school, and it was like a book writing contest, and there were all these different categories, and people could win. Mm-hmm. So
book writing.
Book writing.
Are we discovering?
You started writing books when
you were origin
This
story.
is your origin story?
My origin story.
I was like, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Who's writing a book in second grade?
Where it all began.
So there were different categories. So I picked a joke book category because I was like, that seems like something I could write, just jokes. And so we had these old wallpaper samples, and they were real colorful, and I made a cover for my book out of wallpaper. So it was.
This is an origin story.
And then I did the illustrations and drawings, and I made up jokes that a second grader would make up. They were not funny, and they weren't all that clever, and they weren't very good. Mm-hmm. But I made them all up, and so they're 10 jokes, and I wrote a joke book and submitted it. And there was only one other submission in the category, and they won. But all their jokes were jokes that were already been written. They were not a single original joke, but they were funnier. They were actual jokes.
They're actually funny, yeah.
Funny, but none of them were original. And I still to this day, I carry that with me. This, they didn't write anything.
Right.
All they did was curate some jokes and put them on paper, and they won an award. And I was like...
People award the familiar.
I was like... mine wasn't... I would say that my cover, I made something, at least created something.
Yeah.
But I didn't win. But I'd still rather create something and lose than copy something and win.
Yes.
It goes back to second grade. Maybe earlier, but for sure second grade.
And you're continuing in that.
Yeah.
And that's good.
I don't know.
Well, immediately as you're saying now, you're getting to the end of the story. I'm going, well, this is kind of our ethos with the music. We would rather create something than copy something or regurgitate something that's already been done, or And I think, well, I know that's a thread in a lot of what we write and produce and sing and all of that.
And it's not out of...
It's our joke book.
It's not out of spite. It's out of freedom.
Well, yeah.
And discovery and beauty.
I don't know I don't think it's a right or wrong either.
Right.
It comes across it because I know when things I've said a lot over the years was I'd rather draw a stick figure than recreate the Mona Lisa paint by numbers.
Right.
Because it just interests me more. But that doesn't mean that paint by numbers is bad, or that somebody who enjoys painting by numbers and creating something shouldn't hang it on their wall.
So you can hang out with people that enjoy paint by numbers.
I do. Yeah, it's like 99% of the world, I think.
99% of the world is painting by numbers.
It may not be that high. That sounded really... No, but I do. I like... Or to be proud of something. I mean, that's hard. To paint by numbers and do that well. I'm not even saying that's... Like, if you think about the Mona Lisa and you pulled out one of those
give
kids...
them too much credit.
Well, you might have 100 different colors of paint, and you mean that attention to detail.
Well, you're following instructions.
Instructions.
Staying within the
it's
lines.
Like building, a Lego kit or something like that. I've never wanted to do that. It's not my thing. But that can be neat. Like we have, like my son, he would build. My wife would get him some of those like Lego scenes, like from Friends or Home Alone. The Home Alone house, different things like that. And he would build them, and they're on. I mean, he's 20, almost 21 now, and they're on the shelves in our home.
They're kind of art pieces.
They're like pieces of our, and they just blend right. I mean, because our house, because she decorates in such a way that it's so eclectic that it's very her, but it's pretty wild looking. When you start thinking about the different pieces, but mixed in there are these Lego scenes, and so they become very much art, even though it doesn't interest me to do that.
Right.
I'm not saying there's no value in that. So I just didn't want it to sound like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that could be. I mean, there's probably some really bad cover bands, and probably some really great cover bands.
You can have a great cover band.
Yeah, and especially if they're doing the songs justice, or they're having adding their
take
own
on it. Yeah,
their own take.
Nothing wrong with that.
There's a place for that. Yeah.
Cashmere is a good band.
Burlap?
No.
Oh, different band. Sorry.
The Zeppelin cover band.
Oh, okay. Wasn't there a band called Burlap to Cashmere?
I think there was. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's different.
I love Burlap to Cashmere.
Yeah.
But I think like Hootie and the Blowfish were a cover band for a long time, and they started making some originals and doing them.
I think this just powered off.
Well, you also pressed the button earlier.
I thought the pressing of the button just allowed me to see, not...
I don't know.
I must have turned it off then when I pressed it, guys. There it is.
Yeah, I think the
That's
screen
okay.
the
I don't
screen
usually
goes
say
dark.
anything valuable anyways.
I mean, you said quite a
I
bit.
like to mumble too. Mumbler.
No, as long as your mic is working, you're good. You can cut wide.
So when I was telling that story, that's an obvious. I can see how that shaped me, or explains some of what I do and what we like to do as well.
Did it shape you, or were you already just expressing what was in you?
Probably was that way.
Yeah,
which is fair. But I was actually thinking about something different while I was telling before I told the story, because like there's a little bit of a wound from that. So that I carry with me, like, why didn't I win? Like, I thought I did the assignment and the other person didn't do the assignment. And there's only 2 entries. And out of 2 people, I didn't, and I am the only one who did the assignment, and I didn't win. And like being shocked by that and feeling like, I should have won or whatever. And so I was like, do we need to put a label on that? Like, that's called second grade hurt, and so I can blog about it or something.
You are. You're vlogging about it right now.
I know. I'm bringing it up now. But it's kind of been one of those, I'm glad that we can talk about our hurts and, struggles and things like that. But it is a little bit interesting, like when we start labeling everything, it's specifically, since we all work in a church and there's been the phrase church hurt. That is it's kind of become a phrase within some elements of Christendom, of people who've been hurt by churches, and it's got like a name for it now, and church hurt, and people like talk about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's called life for the most part. I mean, there's certainly things that happen, but in any sector, you know. But I was thinking about that. I was like, well, there's second grade hurt, and there's little league hurt, and
grocery store hurt.
Yeah, there's the bank hurt, there's
young love hurt,
first job hurt. Girlfriend
driving on
hurt.
the highway hurt.
Failed your first driver's test hurt. No.
Right, but that, like,
I mean, it's hurt everywhere.
there's hurt, and I think with like, not because I'm not trying to really critique church hurt, that because I get that where it's unexpected because we do maybe expect better, but part of that, I think the parts that I think are a bit maybe problematic would not just be like, oh, wrongs, people are wronged, but also people are just people, and sometimes we're disappointed. It's kind of like
people hurt.
yeah, it's like applying Matthew 18 when someone sins against you, go to them and confront them or correct them, and if they don't respond, then take 2 or 3 people. If they still don't respond, take the church, then like kick them out. But one of the things with that instruction Jesus was giving there was like, if somebody sins against you, not if somebody does something you don't like, or somebody says something you didn't appreciate, or somebody says something that upsets you or hurts your feelings.
Different, yeah.
That's different, because that happens all the time. Like somebody's sinning against you. Like I had a pastor early in ministry that I was working with, and he was so helpful to me in that, because like just explaining it, like, yeah, all the stuff people are trying to apply Matthew 18 to or are calling sin, it's not sin. Like sin's pretty obvious. Mm-hmm. And just because you don't get along with somebody doesn't mean they're sinning against you. Or just because somebody doesn't hire you or doesn't think you would be good at something or doesn't agree with your methodology, that's not sin. Like I was like, I'm so glad I had, and this was a guy who was being like, people were really going after him. I mean, like a church split, and because they didn't like his methodology, they didn't like him as a preacher, and they were really going after him, and him still having that kind of a mindset to be like, no, I'm not even saying they're sinning against me because they don't like me. I was like, whoa, because I knew he was in the crosshairs and was just getting beat down, and this guy just sat down and talked to me about it, and I'm so glad, because without it, I mean, you end up being defined by, all these things people did to you.
What's coming to mind when you're talking about, you kind of bring up the kind of the phraseology of like church hurt. I think we experience hurt in, like you said, second grade hurt. We all have hurt that we've experienced in different places. It's where does that hurt lead? And I think far too often, and we see this in relational hurt too. Like people will be like, well, I'm done with friends. I was hurt by a friend, and therefore I will never have another friend. And so it becomes like,
it's not a good choice.
Not a good choice. So we see that a lot of times in church hurt world is like, I was hurt in a church, and I will not be part of the church. And so now you've robbed yourself of so much joy, so much gift, and so much of what Jesus called us into, which was to be part of his church. And we don't necessarily react that way to all the hurt we experience. Like if you get hurt on the highway, or you get hurt in a vehicle, in an auto accident, you're probably going to drive again. Chances are you'll probably get over it and say, I need to get somewhere. So which is probably a digression, but I just think we're going to experience the hurt. What do we do with the hurt? How do we process through that hurt? How do we get back up and keep going, and not throw away the entire thing because we've and so I think when I hear church hurt, I go, yeah, of course everybody's experienced church hurt. If you've been part of the church, there's going to be somebody in there that said something that was offensive, or you heard something that rubbed you the wrong way and you were hurt by it. Now what did you do with that? And who have you hurt?
Well, it's a little victims and villains.
Yeah. Well, no matter, right?
Yeah, and that'd be the issue. It's like, I don't want to villainize people who and they may have done wrong things. I mean, too.
Which is real, yeah.
Which I'm not. I've done, and I know I've done wrong things I wouldn't want to do again, or things that if I understood or knew the ramifications of the things I've said or done, I couldn't handle that. I would never want. That's not the desire, but things do happen, and so I'm not anti talking about it or processing. I think all that's very important and really healthy, and I'm really glad that we can and that people are. There's a tipping point where I think it does come into like a villainization thing, and there's a lot of there's sometimes organizationally, sometimes just labeling an entire group of people, or and that's then so if there's a villain, then there's a victim, and now I'm going to play a role as a victim, and you're playing, in my mind at least, a role as a villain, and
No heroes to find.
no heroes to find. So the way I process is I write a song about it.
Right.
Yeah, or how someone who has experienced church hurt, maybe was against them or what have you, and where it was unexpected, involuntary, whatever, and it creates this hurt and that you weren't expecting, and so the way you carry that, if you're not able to work through that or process that, or but the way you carry that could just be anything that doesn't meet my expectation is going to cause me to feel something relative to the way I felt in this very valid hurt, or what I mean?
Everything becomes hurt. Yeah,
And then everything becomes associated with, if I'm hurting, whether it's my expectations are met or whether I don't get the answer I need, whatever it may be, then it's just what's been harbored, or it's just bringing the pain along with you.
It hits it. Well, we can say like it's hitting the nerve. It's hitting the wound. It's
and then the lines, then the lines are gray, right, or blurry as to like, is hurt just any time in someone's experience where they weren't agreed with or weren't agreeable, or
Well, if hurt's the enemy,
right?
which I mean we've kind of taken culturally and made pain the enemy. So
right.
pain is.
Formative.
Yeah, well, pain's important, and pain's telling. Pain is
It's information.
You learn about yourself. You learn about others. We can grow through pain. We can experience pain. But when we're like, no, pain is to be avoided at all costs, and so anytime there's pain, it's bad and it's wrong. Then, but yet the world is full of pain. So then, if that's our mindset, then we kind of do become perpetual victims. Always ouchy, increasingly more ouchy, because the wounds compound and they grow, and the expectations don't shift or change. And I think the enemy would love that. Like that keeps people relationally distant.
You're talking about pain avoidance,
right? The pain avoidance, like even just to numb out. Like we could think about it in terms of painkillers, like in medicine. Like let's not figure out the problem, or let's just treat the symptom.
numb the receptors.
And the symptom,
And know how to see the signs.
to do this. And I mean, it's great for perpetuating, big pharmaceutical and, getting people addicted to drugs and all the things associated with that. And I'm not trying to rip on all that whole side of things, but that is a cultural marker for us to go, oh, how does this happen? Yeah. When we make pain the enemy, physical pain, we'll make physical pain the enemy. Every doctor's office you go into has a smiley face on it with 1 through 10, and you point to the number of pain that you're feeling, and this is how many pills we're going to give you.
Yeah, we're going to mitigate all this pain. We're going to get rid of it.
And these are people who have given their lives to treating and healing, and they've taken a Hippocratic oath, and they meant it, and they're doing it, but it didn't take very long for this to happen, to where this overtakes an entire culture and people. And then you villainize the people who are then addicted to it, and it's their fault. And so then that just
I said I was in
perpetuates it
pain.
anymore.
You told me to take this, and
I trusted you.
And I trusted you, and I became addicted to it because that's what you're.
We figured it out. Okay, so I don't know what we figured out. Sorry, I got excited.
We figured it out.
Light bulb.
Ding.
So much
Light
like
bulb.
I would say that as a leader in a church, I've done this. I'm sure I have. And I'm sure we've done this within Christendom, is we took a similar model with Jesus. And we're trying to respond culturally to a world that was trying to avoid pain. We made following Jesus the pain-free thing. And it's where you get a false gospel, which is worse than all the health and wealth or any other false gospel that's ever been preached, is Jesus will make sure you don't have any more pain in this world. Yeah. And so if you feel any pain in this world, then you're doing it wrong, or the church is doing it wrong.
Not enough Jesus, yeah.
something's wrong.
Jesus said, "Get in your limo and follow me." And pick up your cross and
everything.
Follow me.
Everything. We just totally forget, like that the way of the cross, the way of Jesus, is
Suffering.
There's suffering.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
What is it? It's Jesus wasn't like making his way. His walk through life wasn't upward. It was to the cross.
Yeah.
And so if we're to pick up our cross and follow him, we have this, just this view of what it means to be a Christ follower as being like unstoppable. And unstoppable, yes, but that's found in a joy of knowing that life is not in that, direction.
It's found in knowing that even
we're marching
in the sufferings,
we're marching to our
not gonna
death.
Stop. Yeah.
Oh, you mean like where Apostle Paul's in prison writing?
Yeah.
where all the disciples were martyred?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like I saw today. It was who's that comedian? John Chris.
Yeah.
He was doing a set where he was literally talking about that. And he was going like, "What is wrong with people?" He's like, "The Apostle Paul is in jail." Like I'm paraphrasing. He's like, "He's in chains, writing, and you're going, struck down but not abandoned. They got my Starbucks order wrong." It's like,
The intense persecution.
Yeah.
I don't like the cup they used.
No, he goes, my sister. He goes, "I love my sister. We're walking through her brand new house they just built, rolling staircases. I'm super happy for my sister. We go in the kitchen and on her letterboard, it's struck down but not destroyed." And I'm like, looking around.
When were you struck down?
He's like, "What are you talking about?"
Well, but we all are, and that's the relative nature of pain, though, and comparing pains isn't really helpful. But
Right.
pain is not bad; it's not the enemy.
Well, my wife and I have tried to not, and we haven't been perfect in this because I don't know that and nobody's perfect in anything. But even in the attempt at it, it was like fighting myself because pain aversion is what we do when we raise kids, right? Don't touch that. I don't want you to be hurt. Hey, you don't want to see your kid hurt. Like there's something in you, if you're a normal human, that you don't want your kid. The kid cries. He's crying. Why are they crying? Pick him up, hug him, hold him, stop the pain. Like, are they just what's going on? So I've had experiences with all my kids where I've watched them go through pain and been able to like sit in that with them, and I've helped them avert a lot of pain and avoid a lot of pain, but there's been times where I haven't. And I've found joy in that. I've found greater relational connection in those moments where it's like, let's just sit, like, let's sit in this. And I could bring up examples, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to do all that, but times where something might be going on relationally with them and somebody else, and I could fix it, or I could try to fix it, or try to, well, you don't, but just sitting in that. And maybe that's even something that I've experienced even with the Lord, where it's like I'm in something and it's just like he's sitting in it with me. I can feel him in that moment, like he's not hiding from me or going, well, do this, let me fix it. It's like, no, like, let's just sit in this and let's see what we get out of this. So, we're raised to try to stop pain, but yeah.
It's a horrible relationship dynamic if it's like, if you love me, you'll do this.
Yeah.
God, if you love me, then you'll do this. Like, I'd like to know the relationship where that dynamic works, because that doesn't work anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so that is certainly becoming more normative. Like, if you love me, then you'll do what I want you to. Which would be true in marriage or family relationships or a relationship with God or a relationship with his church. And so I'm a big proponent in leadership of saying people need to be told no. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Just no. Loving, clear,
healthy no,
compassionate, understanding, but not no when, not no but, not no this or that. Just no. Not
even no cuz.
Well, I like to. I'm good, right? But I'm good to explain, but not forever.
Not because you have to. Yeah,
it's like, but like, because how that it's not in a relation. It's not real otherwise. It's
right.
so transactional and so one-sided, and that's not who God is. That's not who a loving parent is to their children.
Right.
It's not, thinking, we're so individualistic that, oh, this is what I want, so this is what everyone wants, or this is what I believe, so everybody thinks this, including God.
Or this is the pain that I've experienced and no one else can understand, and it makes me unique. And it's like, whoa,
Unique pain.
That's an interesting thing. Just because pain and hurt is personal and deep, and you've put a lot of mental and spiritual energy into carrying that, so you're committed to it, doesn't make us unique. Pain is one of our most common threads that we have. It's a part of our human
Is
condition.
it a connector or a disconnector?
Right. It's yeah. And I remember being at one of our outposts. It was like a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon, and there wasn't a lot of people in the building. And this military guy walks in. He was military, just shaved, jacked dude in army greens and everything. Had just gotten back from, traveling overseas like the week before. He came in. He's like, I want to talk to a pastor. And I was like, okay.
You're like, let me find you one.
Okay, Lord, here we go. And we sat out in the courtyard, and he's like, you haven't seen the things that I've seen, and you don't understand like what I've gone through, and you don't know the pain, but I'm just so adamant about giving my life, that my life is in Jesus's hands, and I want to be baptized, and I want to talk to, and before we even arrived to that, we were talking about pain, and he kept speaking to how unique it is. And I was like, hey, listen, you are special in the eyes of God, and maybe your circumstances are unique, but if you were to hear my circumstances, what we would, and the fact that we've resolved and come to a place where Jesus is our hope and our deliverance, and you know what I mean? And you're not unique. Your circumstances may have been unique, and that wasn't to dismiss the weight of what he has experienced.
Yeah.
But he was like, you know what? You're absolutely right. I spent so much time thinking about how no one can understand my pain and what I've been through, but it's relative, because people in different dynamics and different life experiences and different circumstances, it may be a different circumstance that caused the pain or brought them to, but it's all part of our shared experience. I'm like, yeah. What we get to focus on is that we are all special, and we're all worth it in the eyes of God to have, to know us and to see us and love us and bring us to where we, and that was just a powerful moment. But I remember telling him, hey, listen, like he'd been talking like 15, 20 minutes about everything he had experienced. And my mind was like playing out this movie of what it was like in the battlefield. And I'm like, you're not unique. It just didn't seem right, but it was. And it wasn't even said with intentions of being profound. It was just like, hey man, this is really what, something we all experience. But
because I think I've felt that way. I know I have in my life, where I've been like, well, because my story is so unique, my pain has to be very unique. And
it's so personal that no one can understand, and I stand out differently than everybody else.
But here's the reality of that, though, is I don't understand anybody else's pain then. Mm-hmm. And in that case, now I've isolated myself into a small little pain bubble that nobody can access, and I'm going to live in this little washing machine of misery, and I'm going to have an excuse as to why, my circumstances are very special and very unique, and only God can understand. And if God would alleviate the pain, then he and I could get on the same page, and so it becomes that shield. Yeah, we're never gonna know what the other person's pain feels. It's like almost like trying to decide what that same piece of food tastes like. Well, I know what it tastes like to me. I know it's good, and you could say it's good, but like, what does it really taste like? How do we know that we're sharing identical taste buds at that point?
Well, again, that's the difference between isolation, individualistic disconnection versus connection. And that's one of the cool things about pain is, in really all emotions are the connector. So like in storytelling, That's why story is so important and so meaningful. Storytelling is you're focusing on not the details of the story so much as the emotion of the story, because emotion is the great connector.
Right.
Because everyone knows what it feels like to be rejected.
Right.
Everyone knows what it feels like to be accepted. Everyone knows what it feels like, to be lonely, and everyone knows what it feels like to be loved, or should, or has some idea of that. So, but like, that's what we're doing in storytelling, and that's what art is storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why pain in art and emotion expressed in that is such a great connector. That's why we connect, to a great story, a character, a book, a movie. Why we connect so well on a song is because then you have melody matching words, that
Emotion,
is really
feel,
plucking the heartstrings, so to speak, and you're reverberating with that together. Like you're in tune with that.
Yeah.
And that's such, you feel less alone.
Yeah.
Which is what we're really craving, but it's crazy because being with others is where the pain comes. And so
it's the dichotomy.
It's like, I got to avoid the pain. The only way to avoid the pain is to be alone, but now I'm alone and that hurts. And so really we're not going to avoid the pain. It's stepping into it in community together and choosing to have our heartstrings plucked and to share in that.
This is why pain aversion is dangerous. And I think why I was saying, we've all experienced hurt. And we've all probably experienced church hurt. But to avoid it is going to lead to isolation. It's not good for man to be alone.
No one knows what it's like.
No, you don't just say that. You actually, you have. I've seen you lean into that, and I'm just referencing this because there's a story that popped into mind as you were sharing that sort of principle of the emotional connection. I remember when we did the Make It Beautiful concert. You came out on stage at one point during the concert and shared some stuff about making it beautiful. And so now I'm going to stop myself and say it was the Praise of a Reluctant Saint. Sorry. We did 2 concerts. The Praise of a Reluctant Saint, you came out and you were sharing about Note to Self. And you were sharing about how you had shared some lyrics with somebody. And they just kind of dismissed the lyrics as they were nothing. And then you said, you guys know what that feels like. And you didn't leave it there. You added what the feeling was. If you had just said, I shared some lyrics and people they shunned them, or they, whatever the phraseology you use, which is basically like they just dismissed them. And you would know that what that feels like. People would have been like, well, I don't know. I never really write lyrics. Nobody's really laughed at my lyrics before. But you said, what it feels like to not be taken seriously, or however you phrased it. But you linked the experience to the emotion. And that's, when I was listening back to it, I was like, oh, I connect with that emotion. And so that's the thing of like getting the people in the room to say, oh, yeah, well, his emotion was brought about by this, and then it links to somebody else's experience. Yeah, I felt that emotion in this context. That's the connection point there. So I just thought that was good, and that reminded me when you said that. Because as a communicator, you can't always just share a story and expect people to connect to the story, because they could be just listening to the story. But if you're willing to connect the emotion you felt,
yeah, that's what matters. What do I feel?
Yeah, what did you feel? And
that's why I'm
for
not
any communicator. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, for anybody. Yeah,
whatever we're doing. What does this evoke? What do I feel? And emotions matter. We're emotional people created in the image of an emotional God, and emotions matter. And that's why it's really important, I think, to go, what do I feel? Why am I feeling it? What kind of choices do I want to make about those feelings? Because sometimes we can think we're a slave to our emotions, which we're not. That's right. That's a real beautiful thing about God, is He does give us power and self-control. And so while emotions matter, they're not the ultimate.
I think that's exactly what you said.
They don't
you were
define
saying that.
us.
Yeah. Feel every emotion. Yeah.
Emotions aren't the ultimate, but they're also not the enemy, because that's the other thing we do too, is then go, I'm not going to feel. Oh, it's really important to feel. If you never feel angry, you never feel betrayed, you never feel hurt, then you're not human anymore. That would be some kind of emotional disorder, probably.
Right.
So we should feel jealousy and feel even emotions that we don't want to feel, but then there's an opportunity to make some decisions. What am I feeling? Why am I feeling it? What do I want to do with it?
I think a lot of people struggle to say that, though. There's a lack of honesty with emotions. A lot of people live somewhere between okay and angry. And that's the only emotions they're willing to acknowledge. You know, how you doing?
I don't even think it's okay. I think it's fine.
Fine, fair enough, right? Like, how you doing? Fine. How you doing? It's like,
Well, that means that we have a great opportunity to speak hope, and we have a great opportunity to connect. And
well, being able to say,
just-
I feel embarrassed, or I feel jealous, or I feel unsure, or I feel like not comfortable.
Yeah.
That takes some emotional intelligence and some emotional honesty. Like, how do you even get from point A to point B within yourself if you're only allowing yourself to feel fine and angry? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, that's like only drawing a landscape with a pencil instead of adding some color to it, you know?